And joining us in studio, Carl Niehaus, MKMVA NEC member. On the phone line, Thabo Mutle, ANC Youth League NEC member, and Lakim Buyane, Mpumalanga Provincial SACP leader. Good evening to all our guests and you at home. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's just start with you, Mr. Niehaus, whether these are indeed just spurious fake news allegations or whether it's a reality that money does exchange hands in exchange for votes.
Well, Cindy, I'm really surprised and I must say slightly bemused by this declaration of the South African Communist Party, because does it indicate that there are just some delegates that they think are pliable, or is it that they identify their own members of the SACP who are dual members of the ANC as pliable? Because I listened to the statement, and the statement says we are going to give money to some delegates. The next question, of course, that arises if we goes along this route is, are those monies only going to go to delegates who support a particular candidate? And if that is the case, does that not mean that that is a kind of bribery? So this opens a whole hornet's nest. At best, it is not well thought through. At worst, it is a malicious attempt to try and discredit our National Elective Conference, and it is a very serious aspersion on the integrity of the delegates who go to the conference. And surely the SACP must be very careful to cast such aspersion on delegates who go to the conference, and especially if they talk about people who are also members of their own party. So I really think they haven't thought this thing through. I think they have bumbled into this situation, and the consequences of it is quite severe in terms of what they themselves are now busy doing. And let me lastly ask, how is it ending up that they are now fundraising with business? Do they want to tell us that this money that will go to delegates is not with some vested interest from businesses that they fundraise from? You see, we are now on a slippery slope where we will eventually end up in a deep, deep hole. And they should have thought about this before they started this.
All right, let's ventilate whether they actually thought this through, that a stipend will replace or rather reduce the temptation of accepting bribes. Mr. Lakim Buyane, Mpumalanga Provincial leader of the South African Communist Party. Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us. Just in response that, number one, there are business interests, those that assisted in the fundraising at the Imbizo. And secondly, how do you identify those delegates that you say are prone or susceptible to bribery?
Good evening, Sydney. Cindy, I'm sorry, Carl Niehaus, the Youth League NEC member, and your listeners at home. We think this issue is blown out of proportion. Let us put it very clear to say the SACP does not have its own delegates in the ANC conference. Delegates that are going to the 54th National Conference belongs to the ANC, not to the South African Communist Party. But the issue here, it's so unfortunate, Cindy, because I requested the clip since 3 o'clock when you give me a call that I'll be in an interview, and then nobody's giving me a clip about the interview. Nevertheless, let's indicate that we were coming from Imbizo. We sat on Saturday, and the Imbizo will understand that it's more of a community meeting where business people are involved, civil society organizations, political parties, leagues, and the community at large. So Imbizo is where you listen to the views of the people which they are raising with the South African Communist Party that are more affecting the society at large and their movement, which is the African National Congress. So the idea of raising some money and give pocket money came from Imbizo, which in the main are business people and people that attended the Imbizo. And therefore, as the South African Communist Party, we had a responsibility to relate the view of the community to the people of Mpumalanga and their listeners as they are listening to us.
All right,
so it's
Mr.
not that we're coming from a constitutional meeting of the SACP, a PC of a provincial council where constitutionally the SACP is taking a decision. These are the views that emanated from Imbizo, and fortunately the media, 702, was present as the community speaks about these issues.
All right, just for clarity, Mr. Mbuyane, are you saying that the stipend or pocket money is not in aid of maybe impoverished ANC delegates that will be present at the national conference? Is that on the table at the moment?
Not at all. It's not about bribing delegates. Let me put it like this, that it's not about bribing people. But the community in our Imbizo said, no, in order to mitigate the allegations that are making rounds of saying there's a lot of money, which I think one NEC member, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, tweeted about the money that is making rounds, which in your social network you can see a lot of dirty money, which is alleged to be given to delegates. Therefore, the community in our Imbizo said, no, but we think we need to take a responsibility and make donations which we can give it to delegates as they are going to the conference, so as we can mitigate the attempt towards delegates for being bribed in the conference.
All right, Mr. Mbuyane, just please stay on the line. A response from Carl Niehaus.
Well, Comrade Mbuyane says that the SACP doesn't have delegates. All these are ANC delegates, quite correctly. But then the SACP seems to make a selection of which of these ANC delegates they want to support and which they will not support. Very strange. And if the suggestion came from the business community inside a meeting of the South African Communist Party, I would like to know whether those intentions are as noble as has been expressed by him now. We must be very, very careful to allow people from the business community or anyone else, including the South African Communist Party, who are not delegates at this conference, as he's quite correctly pointed out, to try and influence what happens at the National Elective Conference of the African National Congress. Cindy, we have seen in the run-up to this National Elective Conference every possible attempt by the business community, by white monopoly capital, to try and influence what the outcome of the elections in the National Elective Conference will be. Therefore, we have to take every possible precaution to avoid that kind of influence from playing itself out, and to allow our delegates to act as truly conscious members of the African National Congress, expressing the will of the mandates that they have received from their branches.
All right, just please hold the thought. We have Thabo Motle, ANC Youth League NEC member. Just your reaction. We just heard from Mr. Mbuyane saying that this matter has been blown out of proportion. It was a community meeting that came up with a suggestion that delegates ought to have some lunch money, pocket money, in case they want to have, buy a drink or two. In your view, are we underplaying the true danger of, inducing members to vote in a particular way?
Thank you, Cindy, and good evening to listeners. Can you hear?
Yes, we're listening.
Yes, I think the SACP is being mischievous because, as he correctly put it, that the delegates going to the ANC conference are ANC delegates from ANC branches. Therefore, the ANC cannot convene a conference and not take care of those delegates. The ANC is going to provide them with accommodation, is going to make sure that there is food at the conference for delegates. Therefore, it means delegates are covered. They are being mischievous for them to begin to mobilize resources or funds to give to delegates. They're saying they are mitigating something which is an allegation with money. We must condemn the use of money at all costs. Therefore, they want to legitimize their buying of delegates by saying they are actually mitigating allegations. It will not allow. They must refrain from that. I don't know which tool of analysis have they used as the SACP, or what is scientific about the decision that they have taken? Because as much as he claims that they were having an imbizo where the community raised those particular issues to say these are the allegations, and we think therefore this will be the way we must mobilize the resources so that we give our delegates and so forth and so on. Don't you think that that is tantamount to bribery, or that is tantamount to actually influencing those particular delegates to take a particular posture in this conference by giving them money?
Remute, just stay on the line. Mr. Mbuyane, your response to that, number one, this is hypocritical on your part because delegates are being taken care of, for all their needs, so there is no requirement for an additional donation. And also, which delegates are going to be funded and which are not? What is the criteria of that?
No, thank you very much, Cindy. As we said earlier on that we don't have our own delegates, there are ANC delegates in the ANC conference. And we don't have delegates that will be chosen from those that are going to the conference. All delegates that the community saw it relevant that they can assist them. I think the criteria will be used by the community to give that particular money. I must indicate that at the moment there's nobody that is given money, and the SACP is not going to move around and dish out money to anybody whatsoever. But the community, led by business people, will deal with that because we don't believe on giving delegates to money as the part. Actually, money politics is one thing that we don't believe on. So it cannot be correct to say the SACP is mischievous. It's not mischievous at all. We may rather say the community, not the SACP, is mischievous. But it's an open secret, Cindy, that dirty money is making rounds towards this conference. We saw one NEC member, actually it's an NWC member, Comrade Mbalula, tweeting that there's a lot of money that is making rounds towards the conference, which is a concern to the ANC. But also you go to documents of the ANC, and the Secretary General of the ANC is on record condemning vote buying in the African National Congress. So it's one matter that you cannot take light when the community is raising. But also it's a matter that the SACP can't move around and dish out money to people who are going to conference. But if the community is concerned about their own liberation movement, they want to reclaim it, to go back to its glorious days, as the party cannot say no. Because remember, ANC is also an organization that leads society outside there. So if society is raising issues that affect the growth of the African National Congress, as a party, we can't really stop them.
All right.
Well, I think Comrade Karl Nihos is raising relevant issues about the intention of this man. We think it's a noble intention, Comrade Karl. It's a noble intention from delegates. Ours as the party is the influence ideologically to the African National Congress, because we believe this is our organization. It's an organization that is neither capitalist nor socialist, but it's a disciplined force of the left.
Yes, Mr.
And we would
Mbuyane,
love to keep the ANC.
Just in the interest of time, I just want to get through this point in that a donation, a stipend, a incentive, whatever it is that you want to call it, suggests that members or delegates going into the national conference have the propensity to being induced or being swayed one way or another, depending on which gift horse they're looking at. Are you with me?
I'm listening, Cindy.
Yeah, are you saying that the delegates that are going into this national elective conference have got the propensity, they're easy to buy? It depends on how much.
The open secret, like I said earlier on, is that there's a lot of dirty money that is making around, which is meant to buy delegates. So money, of course, have a capacity to change the thinking of delegates, especially people who are unemployed, whom you can give money. They can think the other way around. So I think it is from that background that the committee said no. But in order to make these people not to be vulnerable when they arrive in the conference, Komatabo is correct that the ANC will cook food and everything, but delegates, when they see others get money, they might also be vulnerable. So the thinking of the committee is to say, let us not allow our own people to be vulnerable when they arrive.
All right, let's get a response from Mr. Niehaus. How do you clamp down or eradicate, uproot this whole, be it allegations or a reality perceived or otherwise, that bribery is rife when it comes to elective conferences of the ANC?
Well, Cindy, you do it in the way you do with any issue where there's crime or where there's people behaving in the wrong fashion. You come forward with the evidence. In this instance, I would have expected the members of the South African Communist Party in Mpumalanga to come forward and say, we know about this, this is what is happening, take it to the office of the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General and reveal what is going on. Instead, they come up with a very strange scheme. And this scheme they call the kind of money that is going to give as pocket money. But the pocket money thing, if you don't think it through, can in fact become a cover for bribery. So what we do here is we say we respond to the problem of bribery by creating an environment in which bribery can in fact thrive. Let me ask also, what on earth are we saying when we say some members of the community will decide which members of the ANC delegates will receive this money? Are we saying that those members of the community, and especially those business people, may not have interests that they want to promote? And as soon as we talk about the business community, are we not saying that those business people may not want to see a particular candidate to win or lose? You see, I started off by saying that this whole thing, even if it was well intended, as the comrade from the SACP is saying, was badly thought through. And I have to ask the question, was it badly thought through? Or is this an intentional attempt to try and influence certain delegates to behave in a certain manner at the conference? Unfortunately, this kind of pocket money story creates that possibility. And one has to ask those questions because, as I said to you, it's a very simple, straightforward issue. If you know about bribery, if you know about people behaving incorrectly, let them report that to the correct channels.
Yeah, what are the success rates, though, of the whistleblowers, Mr. Mutle, with regards to allegations of bribery? Because they have been doing the rounds, and yet we don't hear, or it's faceless. You know, there are all sorts of murmurings without tangible evidence that these are the perpetuators thereof, and these are the beneficiaries.
Social media and technology have advanced, and it is deteriorating the advancement that the organizations want to make. I know for a fact what he's talking about, the comrade like is that there was a tweet, I've seen the Photoshop that a picture, bag full of money, as well as Photoshopped some WhatsApp conversation saying, making allegation that the president has given instruction that that money must go to delegates, so forth and so on. But we are saying from the ANC point of view, the use of money should never be promoted. Therefore, it can be correct. I begin to ask myself a question that I would like to pose to comrades like at that meeting, because the ANC exists and is the leader of society. In that meeting, was the ANC not present for them to actually consolidate and come up with a view that the community is saying the SACP? Did the community delegate the SACP?
Mr. Mutle, let's give Mr. Mbuyane a chance to respond very briefly, sir. Your closing remarks.
My closing remarks, Cindy. No, thank you very much, Cindy, for the opportunity given to us. I must indicate once more that the intention is a noble one, and is not to influence a particular decision, but the intention of the community, I think I must put it clear from Imbizo, but it's just to mitigate against getting delegates that will need to be paid. Of course, the ANC was present in our meeting. The alliance was present in that meeting that raised sharply this issue and took a decision on its own. But in closing, I think as the South African Communist Party in Mpumalanga, we want to call upon the alliance in our province that out of eclipse, comrades must refrain from going to the media and raise views which are tantamount to attack the South African Communist Party without engaging us directly and get the position of the South African Communist Party.
Mr.
We want
Mbuyane,
to make that call because it's not in the spirit of the alliance.
We really appreciate your time, and very briefly,
that the SACP will follow the same route, because this SACP has been on many public platforms attacking the ANC all over, including also its own leader, Comrade Bladen Nzimande. So let what is true for the goose also be true for the gander. And let us all commit to make sure that this upcoming National Elective Conference will be without bribery, without paying money in order to try and undermine the democratic elective process, because ultimately the branches must prevail.
Certainly, I mean, a lot rests on the delegates going into this national conference. But Carl Niehaus, MKMVA NEC member, thank you indeed. Joining us in studio, we had Thabo Mutle, ANC Youth League NEC member, and Lakim Mbuyane, Mpumalanga Provincial SACP leader, saying that this is a benign, noble gesture of offering delegates, those that needed at least a meal allowance for the conference. We'll take a break. We'll see you shortly.